Hey everyone, I had my daughter and she does not want to be put down today, so I'm just gonna have to hold her and hope she doesn't cry while I'm making this video on my phone, which I will not be able to edit. So I just wanted to tell you about her birth story, the birth of Jade Phoenix. First of all, I feel like I've learned a lot already so far from these couple weeks that she's been alive. For one, I learned that the female body that I live in is very strong. I knew I was strong as a person, but I guess I just hadn't realized that I was strong as a female. And I'm not even like talking about giving birth. I'm talking about caring for another life and putting it before myself for 2 weeks straight, which is something that I don't think everyone can do. She's awake. I don't know if she likes me talking, but we'll try to continue this. Anyway, okay, I started having contractions like a week or two before I actually went into labor, and I didn't even know they were contractions. Like, I told Alyssa that I was having like this sporadic lower back pain, and she's like, those are contractions, and I'm like, what? Where am I? I don't know. So yeah, I had tried to predict what day she was going to be born, and I thought it was most likely either going to be the 23rd, so her moon would be in Gemini, or the 27th, so her moon would be in Leo, and it would have a trine aspect to Uranus, which I was right about that one. So I woke up, I pretty much knew by the time the 23rd came around that, nothing was happening that day. But I woke up on the morning of the 27th, and pretty much right away after I woke up, I had a couple of contractions. And normally I didn't have contractions, that early in the day, so I pretty much knew, like, something's gonna happen today. So yeah, I ate some pineapple, and then I woke up at 4 a.m. Actually, I should mention that. I ate some pineapple, and then I went for a particularly long walk, and on that walk I had a little pep talk with Jade here. I pretty much told her that the current season was autumn, and it was probably the prettiest season of them all, at least in my opinion, and that the leaves were all sorts of different colors. It was kind of chilly outside, so I was having to wear multiple layers of clothing, but not to worry because I had crocheted a bunch of things for her to hopefully keep her warm as well. I told her that the sun was currently in the sign of Scorpio. The moon would be going into Leo at around 1 p.m. I told her that being born would be difficult, but that we would get through it together, and I would try to do the best that I could for her. I think I also mentioned some things about trying to be a good mother and stuff, and that I wasn't sure I had the most natural potential to be a mother because my moon, which is a motherhood planet, is in Capricorn, which is like the least motherly sign, and also Sirius, my motherhood asteroid, is also in Capricorn, so I'm like double whammy, but yeah, after that, I went back inside, and by the time it was 6 a.m. I was having regular contractions, and they ranged from they were about 10 minutes apart. And pretty much gradually throughout the day they started getting closer together and more intense. When they weren't so bad that I felt like, I just couldn't do anything, when they were about 5 to 10 minutes apart, I went out and ran some last minute errands with my husband. We got some food from a coffee shop, and I got some nuts and dried cranberries and stuff. And I got some kind of aromatherapy oil that was supposed to help with birth. I can't remember what it was, honestly. So yeah, also I think once my contractions became like about 5 minutes apart was when I posted on Facebook and I asked anyone who wanted to help me with delivery to light a candle for me, and thank you to everyone who did that. I think it really helps. I just wanted people to send me good energy and stuff, and it was nice to have that. You know, I don't feel like I gave birth alone. I feel like it was something that a lot of people helped me with. So anyway, I can't think of too much else to say. Contractions were really painful. It wasn't long before they got to 3 minutes apart. So I went through many, many hours of having a very intense contraction every 3 minutes. And that was difficult. I didn't get to sleep at all during that time because it was just like too painful and I couldn't sleep through it. I only got to eat, you know, a little bit of food between contractions. I had a banana, I had nuts and like dried fruit, as I said. I had some rice, you know, I was trying to eat good healthy foods to give me energy. We had called the hospital a few times, you know, by the time I had been having contractions for over 12 hours because we wanted to, like, you know what's going on or like when we should come in. And they told us, you know, not to come in, which now I understand why. The reason why I think they didn't want me to come in, and I completely agree with this, is because they have this ridiculous protocol that they have to follow, and sometimes protocols are really stupid. This is one of the protocols that, like, needs to be done with, really. I'm just trying to get better lighting. But yeah, they're not allowed to let women eat anything while they're in labor, and labor can last days, really. So giving birth is like the most exhausting thing you'll ever do in life. So you really need to be able to eat something beforehand. You can't be starving and fatigued and all that, but yeah, the protocol is ridiculous. So yeah, I stayed home and I ate some things. But yeah, my husband was just like sleeping and stuff. He got to rest while I was like there having contractions and like miserable and all that. But at 3 a.m. Is when my water actually broke. So I had been having contractions for about, well, almost a full day, you know. I think that's 21 hours. I can't do math. Yeah, so after I had been having contractions for about 21 hours, my water broke, and we went to the hospital. And at the hospital, they confirmed that, like, my water had broke and all that. So they waited for, like, a few more hours. I don't know. I feel like I have no, like, memory of time whatsoever at this point. But they waited to check to see if I mean, first they checked to see if I was dilated at all, and I was only dilated 3 centimeters. This was after, you know, like about 24 hours of labor. I was only dilated 3 centimeters. So, and you need to be dilated 10 in order to give birth. So this would have taken a very, very long time, and I was exhausted and tired. They waited a few more hours to check again to see if I was dilated at all. Still only dilated 3 centimeters. So I was very lucky because you don't get to choose the provider who's on call, or at least not at this hospital. You don't get to choose who assists in your child's birth. But I was very lucky because if I could have chosen, I would have chose the nurse midwife who was working at the time I was there, because she was my favorite out of everyone I had seen, you know, throughout my pregnancy for my appointments. But yeah, I would have chosen her, so I completely lucked out on that. And I liked everyone who was there, you know, working while I was going through labor, which there are a few people who work there that I for the few days after I gave birth, and, making sure I knew how to take care of my baby before I went home. Some of them showed up then, but, at that point it doesn't matter. It's just like, where was I, God? Okay. So yeah, the nurse midwife and I, like, both agreed that I needed to get some fucking sleep, because at that point I had been having contractions for 27 hours. I hadn't been able to sleep. I was starving because, I hadn't been able to eat that much in between contractions, and on top of that, like, they weren't allowed to let me eat anymore at the hospital. So we agreed that it would be best if, for one, I needed Pitocin to help me progress, because I was only 3 centimeters dilated, and, like, this would have taken days, and honestly, I think I made a good decision, because I would not have had the energy to give birth if I had, kept trying to go through labor naturally. So yeah, also I got an epidural so I could take a nap, and I think I napped for, like, probably a few hours, and I'm very grateful I had that nap. So yeah, they stuck the epidural in my back and all that. Also, something interesting, like, some of the nurses were, like, telling me, they were impressed with how I was handling contractions, which, they're probably just trying to flatter me, whatever. But they said I was, like, very calm and in control, and, like, in my head I was just thinking, like, I'm such a Capricorn moon, because that's totally a Capricorn moon thing. But yeah, contractions, like, really did hurt like hell. Even if I seemed like I was, like, calm and in control, like, in my head I was, like, freaking out, probably. I was just, trying to control what I could, which was my breathing. Okay, so yeah, I took my nap, and, by the time I was, like, 9 centimeters dilated, it was pretty obvious, and, like, I woke up, and, like, I had told them that I felt like, the baby was, like, right there. She was, like, coming, and, like, yeah, whatever. It sounds so corny. Oh my gosh, I'm sorry. She flinches sometimes. You should have seen her earlier when I coughed. She threw a fit while I was feeding her. I accidentally coughed, and she didn't like it. But yeah, so that's when it was time to, push and stuff. I don't know. Yeah, I did not see anything that was going on at this time. Unfortunately, like, when you have an epidural, it's like a bear tranquilizer. Like, when they hit you with that shit, you go completely numb and you can't move at all. Like, they were just, like, flopping me around and moving me like a rag doll, and, like, I couldn't move my legs at all. I couldn't, like, hold them up or anything. They were just, like, flop over. So, obviously I had to give birth laying down, which was not my original plan. I had always imagined, a natural childbirth, like, squatting, the natural position to give birth, which is a lot healthier. But it's okay. I'm happy with the way things turned out. Like, I'm completely happy with it. I feel like this is the only way it could have turned out. Like, I'm not even thinking about other possible options, because I know this is just the way it had to be. But yeah, so I had to give birth laying down, which means that physics were not on my side. For one, I didn't have gravity helping me. Also, when you're laying down versus when you're in a squatting position, your pelvis is not as open, so you're more likely to have tearing. I pretty much, I knew all this and I accepted it. Another thing I didn't like about getting the epidural, like, if I had to, give someone advice, about whether or not you want to get an epidural, like, there are good things about the epidural, obviously, but there are, I actually preferred pushing when the epidural started to wear out, because with the epidural, you really can't feel anything. And obviously the bright side of that is that you can't feel pain, but you can't feel what you're doing either, and especially if you've never given birth before, and you're trying to make this forceful motion with your body. You're trying to push something out of your body, which is a difficult thing to do, and when you can't even feel what you're doing, you you can't do that. I mean, you have no idea what you're doing. You could be like, I don't know, you could be like busting a lung or something for all you know. So I felt like I really had no control over that. And once that epidural like started to wear off, that's when, like, you know, I really meant business or whatever, I don't know. That's when things like really got serious, because before then, like, I felt like I couldn't really push. Like, I was trying, and the nurse midwife did a good job of describing to me what I was supposed to be doing, but still, it doesn't make up for the fact that I couldn't actually feel what I was doing. But once I could feel what I was doing, you know, even though it hurt, it was a lot easier, because, you know, I could actually push her out. But anyway, you know, while I was giving birth, like, my husband, from his perspective, he said there was blood and like all this like stuff everywhere, like there was just a ton of blood, and I didn't see any blood at all. Like, all I could focus on was what was going on inside my body. I had always thought I'd be one of those people who wanted a lot of privacy during birth, but when the time came, like, actually, I was excited to have like a bunch of random strangers come in the room, because it felt like some kind of reward, I guess, you know, for getting like far enough to where I was almost done giving birth that, you know, like the entire hospital staff was going to be in there. So that was exciting to me when she said, you know, she was gonna like have everyone come in there, which, you know, I wouldn't have expected from myself at all. But yeah, from my perspective, I didn't see any blood. Blood somehow got on my face. I don't know how, but it did. While I was pushing, you know, the nurse midwife, who was down there, like, you know, front and center, you know, doing her thing, whatever. She asked me a few times, like, if I wanted to reach down and feel my baby's head, and like, I didn't know if that was gonna freak me out, because holy crap, there's a head coming out of my vagina. Like, I didn't know how I was gonna respond, like, if I actually like reached down to feel that. But eventually she convinced, you know, at first I was just like, oh no, I don't know, I think I'll pass. But eventually she convinced me to, and I'm glad I did, because when I reached down, it was like, it was weird, it was squishy, there was a head coming out of my vagina, and it was really weird, but I was just like, oh my god, you know, it was kind of sweet, even though it was like crazy. And what was I gonna say? I don't even remember. I'm completely like losing track of everything. I'm sorry, this video is so long, I just can't remember what I was going to say. So, yeah. It really hurt. It did. And, you know, but I did it, I guess. I don't know. It was weird. When she was born, my husband said he wished he had, like, recorded what I was saying. I don't remember what I was saying. You know, when as soon as I felt her come out, she started screaming, and like, I was so glad for that, because I didn't have to worry for a split second whether or not she was okay. Like, I just heard screaming right away, and I'm like, you know, if a baby's not okay, she won't have lungs that strong. So with her strong lungs, I knew she was okay. And, you know, she kept screaming the entire time. They had her on the table, and they were like cleaning her up a little bit and cutting the cord. And when I saw her, you know, first, like right after she came out of my vagina, I was like, I don't know, it was just like so amazing. I was like so happy to see her. Yeah, and while they were cleaning her up and stuff, and she was screaming, I told her, you know, it was okay, and then I'm sorry. I know it was difficult being born, but we got through it together. Yeah, they handed her to me for a while, and I looked at her and I asked her why she was so pretty, because like, she's so beautiful. She's like the most beautiful baby in the world. Of course that's what I think though, you know? know like what exactly was going to entail. I didn't know how it was going to work out. But I couldn't even really realize that I was so nervous because I felt so overwhelmed with excitement. Like the excitement was completely draining out how nervous I was. Like I was full of excitement while I was giving birth. Also, while I was pushing, my mouth got really dry and I wasn't allowed to drink water, but they brought me some ice to chew, which was a lifesaver. Like I feel like I couldn't have done it without the ice. Like it was such a relief. They were making fun of me a little bit because of like how fast I was eating the ice. Like it was chocolate or something. Yeah, I don't know. It seems weird that like people would be making fun of someone while they're giving birth, but like I'm one of those people that you can just like you can make fun of, and I don't know. I like being made fun of, I guess. But yeah. What I didn't like is after I had her, you know, I only got to hold her for a little bit, and then they had to take her away and put an IV in her because I had an infection and I needed an IV too, but it took like probably about 30 minutes for them to get an IV in her. And that was like 30 minutes after giving birth that I was away from her, and that just felt horrible, you know, after you give birth, not having your baby with you, because after you give birth physically, like you feel like an empty sack of blood. That's what you feel like physically, and what you feel like emotionally, like completely makes up for that. You know, seeing your baby there with you. But when they take your baby away, like you have a hole in your heart and you feel like an empty sack of blood physically, like I said, and it felt awful. But you know, they got her back and they had her IV and everything, which I'm sure was difficult to get in because it's hard enough to get an IV into me, and I'm sure it's like 30 times harder to get an IV into my baby, so I feel like there's probably something else I wanted to say, but I can't think of it right now. After I gave birth, they brought me a meal, and it was chicken and rice, and normally I don't like chicken, but you know, I was so fucking hungry, you know, I ate it. I'm not gonna complain. I'm gonna eat my goddamn chicken. So yeah, it was actually pretty good. The food at the hospital was pretty good. I don't think I have much more to say. I feel like I left something out and I'm gonna regret it, but anyway, I see that this was 23 minutes long. I'm sorry. I hope it uploads okay because it's just from my phone. Thank you for watching. I'm so happy to like have Jade Phoenix here with me. She was born with Aquarius rising, and like I said, her moon is in Leo, and I think her chart is so perfect. I think she's perfect, and I'm really happy. I'm happy to be here like changing diapers and shit every day, you know, even though it seems ridiculous and I don't really have much time for much else. But thank you for watching. I hope I can get some more astrology videos out soon-ish. I know it won't be horribly soon, but I'll do my best. Alright, thanks, bye!